In this video we are very excited to be back at the Vale of Rheidol Railway, where there have been massive changes since we were last here about 5 years ago. There's a huge new museum that we're going to go and explore together, but before that we thought it's probably nice just to see a bit of live steam in action. So here is the first of today's locomotives. It's number 8 Llewellyn. We'll be taking the first train up to Devil's Bridge today. Lovely. Apparently he's taking some spare axles with it. You may remember, I think it was about 5 years ago, we actually had a footplate ride on one of these trains. It was with Jack, who's driving this engine today, and ever so much fun. But we've been there, we've done that, so today we're going to check out some of the massive investment that has been going on at Vale of Rheidol Railway in recent years. These platforms are all fairly new. I think they were down the last time we were here. There's a whole new ticket office down at the end, and yeah, it feels like things are really happening. But yeah, we can't resist having a bit of a perv at some steam. So Llewellyn here is 101 years old, built in 1923 at the Swindon Works. It has worked on this railway all of its life. So shop of the marvellous linkage. Just see, it sounds like the fireman is hard at work. Oh yes, that's quite the fire in there. There's a lot of climbing to do as it climbs all the way up to Devil's Bridge. So do go back and watch that older video of us taking a footplate ride, because that was an amazing day. And a reminder that the crew, quite a lot of them are actually quite young, and they are fully paid. Remember that anyone who works on the line or on the locomotives is paid here at Vale of Rheidol, and they do apprenticeships and stuff as well, so it's an amazing place. So as soon as you come into this new museum area, which is based around the original engine shed for the mainline railway, you're struck by this massive edifice from South East Railway offices. It's down the former London Bridge station. The railway actually has even more than just this, but this is what's on display at the moment. Massive stone facade, and there's information boards about the people behind the railway. Peter Rampton, who sadly passed away in 2019, was huge in keeping this railway going. It actually survived as part of British Rail until 1987, I think it was, maybe 1989. So Peter Rampton was huge in making this the impressive railway it is today. And we've also got Redstone here, a little quarry locomotive from 1903. And this is Zulu, a perfect miniature replica little locomotive. But this is just the start. Let's go through this impressive archway into the museum itself. So we've got a slight issue with the LEDs reacting with the camera, but right in front of us straight away is Margaret, built in 1894. And this is an engine you can drive. I have driven this engine. It was up in Devil's Bridge. You could drive it on a little bit of track. Apparently this year they're going to be doing it down at the Aberystwyth end. Driver for a £5, and I can fully recommend it. It's a lovely little engine made by Hunslet in Leeds. And yeah, this is your regulator to make her chuff along. So many a happy time on the platform of this little engine. And there's the little Wren, which was the first one they offered. We'll go and have a look at that next. This little Wren was built in 1918. It's been owned by the railway since 1989, so pretty much from the start of it being a privately owned company. And this was the first one that you could drive. Apparently inflation has taken effect. It says you will be able to drive this one at the Devil's Bridge end for £7.50. But you know, coal isn't cheap, folks. And again, an amazing opportunity. It's a lovely little thing. You just chuff back and forth on this little bit of track. And it's wonderful that you're able to actually get involved with the machinery of so long ago. It's one of the largest narrow gauge locomotives you'll ever see. This is Drakensberg, or known as the Garrett. And it was built originally for South Africa, but then it ended up being used at a garden centre in Switzerland before it came here in 2017. They have had to modify the railway line in Devil's Bridge right at the end for the extra length of this extraordinarily enormous locomotive. It is kind of articulated. There's a power plant here. We've got the boiler section in the middle, and then there's another power plant at the back. So we've got more cylinders providing power at the rear here. So many linkages, so much to grease. And one of the features I love is the seats are actually designed to swing out, because in South Africa it gets rather hot. So you could swing your seat out and sit in the airflow while still attending to the engine. A lovely feature. And yeah, this is fully operational. It will be in use over the summer, I believe, and for the Steam Festival over the August bank holiday weekend. I have seen it out in action a couple of times, but I've never seen it going right up the track. But it needs that articulation to get around the bends. It's a fascinating piece of living history. It dates from 1927, so it's only very slightly younger than the normal locomotives here. So this is really impressive. This is one of the earliest surviving narrow gauge railways. It's not quite as narrow as the gauge they run here. In fact, you can see the difference down here. This very clever floor allows them to lay different tracks for the different widths. The one we're about to look at is full UK gauge. We'll look at it in a moment. Don't get ahead of ourselves.
Just showing the gauge.
Yeah. And then this one is actually on a slightly wider gauge to the Vale of Rheidol, which runs just this skinny gauge here. There's an amazing overhang between them. But yeah, it dates from 1848. It was built by A. Horlock and Co., who only built 2 locomotives and then went out of business. So not very successful, but incredibly, this one does survive. Oh, we just got the carriages coming out. Been pulled by Hudswell here. That's the carriages for the next train. Lovely. Even the little shunter here has been restored, so good to see. But yeah, we've got this slanted piston on the Fire Queen to take drive down here. Huge connecting rods driving it to the front, so very different layout to more modern locomotives. It was a very quickly changing science back in the day.
So this train was one of 2 identical engines, and she was actually saved because of her name, the Fire Queen. She was working at a works, wasn't she, somewhere? And the daughter of the works was so taken by the name Fire Queen that she said she had to survive. And she did, as you can see.
Happily so.
She was in storage for a very, very, very long time. And actually, if you're a Thomas the Tank Engine fan, there is a story that is based on this engine.
Indeed so. So one of the stories, someone falls through the roof of an old barn and lands on an old abandoned steam engine. And this was very much the inspiration for that story.
And they also had to make sure that you could see her on both sides, because apparently she was held by the National Trust for a long time.
Yes.
And you could only see the opposite side of her. So here she is in all her glory.
Looking resplendent. So at the time of recording, this is the only full-size locomotive here. And you may be thinking, well, Vale of Rheidol's a narrow gauge railway. What is a full-size locomotive doing here? Well, this is a very special locomotive because it actually lived and operated from this very engine shed when it was still the full gauge way back in the mists of time. I think it was serving until the 1950s, if my memory serves me correctly. It currently belongs to the Bluebell Railway down in Sussex, so it's on loan up here, and it has returned to Aberystwyth for the first time since the 1950s. So it's an extraordinary thing to have here with an extraordinary history. And it's known as a Duke dog because there's elements of this that are from the Duke class locomotives, and I think the chassis itself is from the Bulldogs. So it's known as a Duke dog. But yeah, operated the main line out here in Aberystwyth for many, many years. So as further proof of its Aberystwyth roots, if you look at the cross beams going across here on the roof, you'll note there's two little sort of drop down bits that would have held the smoke collector. So when they were firing the engines up in here, all the smoke would get sucked into that and channeled up through the roof. What is now a massive skylight would have been an extended chimney. And you can see that the chimney here fits right below the 2 points above. That's a nice touch.
Oh, Ian, what have you found?
A car, or rather a rail car. This isn't an original one, but this is a recreation that someone built for their own garden railway. How lucky. And it is based on a Model T Ford, possibly an American one built because it is left-hand drive. Not that it really matters for the railway. If you come and have a look inside, there is no steering wheel because you don't need a steering wheel to run on rails. But I forget which is which, but one of these columns controls is for your ignition timing. The other one is for the throttle. Very, very intriguing things to drive. When I was in New Zealand, I experienced a Model T rail car, which was like a full-blown bus to go down the railways. But yeah, this looks a lot of fun. We're told it is actually operational. I think there might be a problem with the magneto at the moment, but at some point, hopefully this will be running up and down the line, and we would love to be there when that happens. It's absolutely intriguing and very, very jolly. And we believe it has a turntable mechanism built into it, so you don't have to reverse anywhere, because that would get a little bit tiresome. So there we go, that is the new museum here. We haven't covered every locomotive. This one was from Spain, but we just wanted to give you a flavour of what's here, and hopefully things will be changing. This space can also be used for concerts. They do lunchtime concerts. Next one of those is on the 25th of May, which is very, very soon, maybe even before this video comes out. But yeah, wonderful to see all this work going on here in Aberystwyth, and it's created quite the must-visit place. So do come down, Vale of Rheidol Railway, and yeah, see what is on offer. You can visit the museum without having to go on the train itself. I think it's £5 for adults, but check the website for details. Woo-woo!